Hello, welcome back to part 2 of the Land Rover detail. So it was apparent watching back my last video I forgot to include the undercarriage footage, so here it is. So I'm going simple and I'm going to apply the foam and basically leave it there to dwell until I basically foam and rinse the car off as a whole, because it's not going to dry out in the sun because it's under the car. So I'm not overly worried. You know, the Auto Foam and the Surfex HD do have some anti-rust inhibitors in there, and they're basically just going to break down and knock off any dirt that's underneath there, just to provide a little bit of cleaning. And if I have time, if I'm not too tired, I think I will try the quick beads in the foam cannon again, but I may not get around to doing that, to be honest. I have to say that I've found this detail to be quite challenging, more from a mental point of view really, because I mean, the paintwork isn't how do you detail rust? You know, usually, you know, most of the cars we play with, you know, they've got a nice layer of clear coat and paint on them. I hadn't realised as well there are some areas which have been touched up, so they are actually just single stage paint, which I managed to remove some parts with the panel wipe. But you know, it's all in good fun. To be fair, looking back at the finished results, I actually thought that the paint didn't look too bad, but when we get to the end of the video you get to see the walk around, and some parts do actually look pretty good, but let me know in the comments what you think, whether you think it's an improvement or if it looks much the same. I have to say that one thing that I have found quite challenging with this video is it's become quite apparent my lack of knowledge with video editing is taking me a very long time. Dipping in and out, trying to edit this one has been a real challenge. I think just not necessarily remembering what I've done, but realising that there are some bits that I've kind of got missed during recording, or I didn't press play or something. But you know, these lessons are becoming you know, part of the steep learning curve of this process, and hopefully it's not ruining this journey too much for everyone. So I've already done a initial foam pre-wash and rinse, so I'm going to crack on with the contact wash. And there were quite a lot of bits of sticks and leaves and things that were stuck in the roof rack connections onto the vehicle there, so I blasted a lot of that out with the pressure washer. And so we're just going to remove any traffic film that's left, and any surface not contamination, but any surface traffic film and marks, and any more little bugs and spider webs and things that we've got, which weren't removed during the pre-wash stage. This is actually a really interesting vehicle. It is such a chunk of a vehicle. I've not driven anything like it, to be honest, but you know, it does the job. It would have been amazing to see this thing brand new, but that was many moons ago, before I met my wife. But we get to some really good stuff in a bit, where you get to hear 24 years of contamination on the surface. It literally sounds like the clay bar, when it hits the paint, is like I've got a piece of sandpaper on there. I don't think I've ever heard contamination like it. But luckily the bonnet still has much of the original paint and lacquer. I'm not sure if it is original. I think it is, but I assume the checker plate was there to hide any previous marks or anything. But you know, just give you something to stand on. I think, you know, this thing has been used to cart around Christmas trees and wood and building materials and boats and all sorts of fun. stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a utility vehicle for the most part, and a great home for all the spiders and fauna that I've found. But to be fair, considering how neglected it was, I think the Ibiza was actually had more things growing out of it. So, you know, that unfortunately I couldn't take the roof rack off, so there is a nice thin layer of something going on underneath there, but I sort of clearly do what I can with a pressure washer to blast that out. But I didn't want to go too heavy on that because it would just start leaking down the side of the panels. But I did consider trying to get the undercarriage thing under there, but there's just not enough room. So we're going to really decon the glass on the front here before I put the screen protectant on, and the Gtechniq system works really well. Because I you know, I keep saying in numerous videos I don't have a polisher, so this compound on the stick situation is so good. It does work really well. It gives a really nice deep clean. And then you simply just rinse off once you've finished compounding. It's that simple. The only annoying thing with it I do find is that because you have removed everything off the window, when you come to rinse off, that water does cling and it's very static on the window. So to then clear it ready for the protectant, you do have to spend a bit of time, you know, with your towels, wiping it off, trying to, and then letting nature take its course to dry out before you apply the protectant on there. It wants a nice dry surface to apply it. I've not done it when it's been slightly damp, but I assume that probably affects how it adheres to the glass itself. So you know, follow the instructions, and just be careful with the clay bar dust that you don't breathe it in. But now here's the fun part. Now, after using the clay towel, this is the one bit I hate about a clay bar, is having to knead it and manipulate it and having to warm it up and stuff. Oh, it's so labour intensive. Oh my struth. The one thing I do love about the Built Hamber clay bar, give it credit, is that you can just use it with traditional soap. You know, you don't need any of that clay lube nonsense and any other special lubrications. It literally just use some decent car soap. This is the mildest version as well, so the risk of marring and scratches is very low. But you know, I've done that pre-wash, rinse, and then the contact wash, so I'm confident, you know, there's not much left on here. And like I say, I mean, it does actually sit under a carport, so not a lot of junk actually lands on this thing. Most of it just sort of gets captured by the spiders. Looking back, I honestly don't know why I didn't just foam the windows as well and clay the windows. If I was using the clay towel, then I definitely would have foamed the whole car, or done it in sections like I have been doing. But To be fair, it was quite an overcast day, so I didn't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, I was just basically just trying to get the paint as much as I could. Oh, look, I did get a little go at the glass after all. But again, yeah, I think by this stage I was
rough,
sort of... The wheels were such a challenge.
What I don't like about clay bars, it's got to go in the bin now. It's ridiculous. Wastage. Why would you not use a clay towel?
So it seems that I've developed a bit of a hatred for clay bars now after using the clay towel. But you know, if you got to throw products in the bin after one use, then, and you know that they have potential to damage the paint, then definitely I think you have to be considering what you're using and the process you're doing. It's better for the environment, better for everyone really. So now this is the water spot remover, again DIY detail product, just to try and bring some life back into the old girl, so to speak, as this has never seen protection once in its life. I doubt in 2001 what protection options you would have actually got from a dealership. Ceramic coatings, I don't even know if they were a thing back then. If they were, I doubt the technology would have been that great. Waxes would have been around, but again, it's all cost to a car dealership that a lot of them, especially now, are not really that prepared to pay, unless they basically make you pay for it, and it's usually a half-baked solution at the end of the day. But let's just get back to the Land Rover without me ranting about manufacturer protectants. And another thing as well, the DIY detail products, I've never experienced water spot remover before. I know Kamikaze did a water spot remover, or do one, and I've seen a few videos of people using it with the emblems to sort of get rid of old waxes and sealants and stuff and polish. But to use it in this facility as like a mineral cleanse for the paint, everyone needs to give it a go and try it on their cars, especially for the decon process. It is just so good, and it really does bring a little bit of life back to the paint, ready for the next stages, the polishing stage, the sealant stage, or ceramic sealant, spray sealant, anything really, wax, the whole lot. So yeah, do give it a go. There are other companies out there who start to bring out their own water spot removers as well, and yeah, just everyone's got to find what they like, and I just really like the ethos of the DIY detail. I kind of relate to that. I'm a bit of a no-nonsense man, and it can get quite, you can get lost quite easily with the amount of products and systems and things out there. It's such a minefield. Not saying that everything's bad, but again, you just need to find what's easy for you, the best way forward. Now, to help me dry the paint off, because there's quite a lot of flat panels, I'm going to use the quick beads to not only provide protection to the grille area and the headlights and these intricate bits. I'm going to spray the quick beads directly into the stream and have it basically disperse itself. I'm just going to laden that up a bit more, just because the grille is so exposed on this one. There's loads of little bits, so little nooks and crannies and gaps and bits of plastic and stuff, so just trying to give it as much protection as I possibly can. And the quick beads is just so easy for that. And then I can go ahead and quick bead the rest of the bonnet, and that way I can just use my leaf blower to blow off the majority of the standing water, and then hit it with a contact towel. I don't have my fancy drying towel. I think I just use a couple of my older towels, so I can just get the panel dry, ready for the next phase, which is like a bit of a hand polish. Yeah, I should have pulled the camera in a bit further so you can really see the beading happening here. It is such a great product, but I think you could kind of get the gist of it from, well, there you go, you kind of see on the wing panel there, you know, the water just beading off and shooting off really easily. It just makes drying the car just so much better. When I say better, I also mean, you know, easier. And I know the music's a little bit random, so to get this video out, I was sort of playing with some different music, some tones, some, you know, different little jingles, things like that. So don't judge me too harshly so far, but I hope it's fun so far, that you're enjoying this detail. I mean, some parts I know are a little bit dry, so to speak, but I think, to be fair, as a video disaster detail, this isn't actually as bad as it looks. It's just, you know, what can you do? So, apart from replacing parts, you know, I'm not going to be really, you know, you can't even see the rusted fittings for that headlight, luckily, and some of these components are so rough and rugged, you know, with the materials that are put on them, there's not really a lot I can do, but you know, majority of it was quite fun, but I still haven't lifted up that bonnet yet. I do want to do an engine bay detail, but I think that's going to have to follow suit. One thing I do have to think about a little bit is how I do video these details. I'm still trying to get the grips of things, so if anyone's got any suggestions on how you know you should do the videoing and the cinematography and things like that, and the angles and stuff, you know, I've just basically got a tripod at the moment, and my camera, and just me sort of trying to work it out as I go. So I mean, any tips and tricks that anyone can give me will be definitely well received. And, you know, if there are any Land Rover fans out there who really like this, they're in the Devon area, perhaps hit me up. Maybe we could work something out and I could feature yours on the channel, and we give it a good detail, give it the works, you know, maybe break out some of the other types of waxes, and maybe even a ceramic coating. You know, there's so many choices out there now that it's great that, you know, I think everybody has access to these things, and technology is just moving on and just progressing constantly. So we've all got access to the most amazing technologies. You know, from when I started detailing cars when I was young, it was you know, very basic, sponge in a bucket really. Didn't really have the internet to like research this kind of stuff, so that's what we did, whatever my dad taught me really, and that was it. And but now how things have changed. So as a slight polishing step, I've got a microfiber pad here on my puck holder from AutoFinesse, and I'm just using the 333 sort of finishing polish here just to try and enhance the gloss more than anything. You know, I'm not expecting paint correction, but just a little bit of something on there just to try and bring it out a bit. So I'm just trying my best to sort of fluff the fibers up a bit. You know, it's a fairly old pad, and it has been used in the past for a bit of headlight restoration and stuff. But I think for this instance, it's just going to give it a little bit of extra glow, hopefully, and warmth to the paint. But let me know what you know what you would do. You know, if you've used this method before. I do actually quite like the 333. It's quite good for getting off these a little bit of sort of hazy scratches and so now we're almost getting onto the home stretch. Once we sort of finish polishing the panels off here, we're then going to hit it with a bit of panel wipe just to get the polishing oils off, and then apply our Soft 99 12-month Fusso coat, which is, the wax is perfect for this. It's got some fillers in it, gives a nice glow, bit of protection, and it's just really easy to apply. And perhaps in the future I'll have a go at applying the show-winning wax by DIY Detail. This bit's quite interesting. I thought that this was actually paint that had been removed from a bit of damage, but it actually turns out it was paint transfer from whatever it struck. So I used the glue and tar remover, basically remove any surface residue, and it's basically brought that right back. There was actually very minimal scratches on this wing. I think it is actually fiberglass rather than aluminium, but yeah, it's actually come back pretty well, so I'm very happy with the result. So here we are, panel prep stage, just to remove the polish, the polishing oils. It wasn't on very thick, so it was really easy to remove, but unfortunately some of the back sections, which were from where it literally tried to kill me before and was touched up, I did remove a little bit of that, but we could touch that up again later. But let's get this thing cleaned up and then we can move on to our protection stage. So here I'm actually removing the Gtechniq rain screen coating on the windscreen. I honestly don't know what's happened to the video footage. I thought it recorded me applying it to the windscreen, but I've either deleted it or edited it out, or I don't know what I've done. But so we have just applied it and now we've buffed it off, and there's me just throwing it on the bonnet. And now here we go with the Fusso wax. We've got a damp microfiber sponge, which I'm going to use because I don't really like the sponge that comes with it. The sponge that I've had with it, I've dropped a couple of times and I've had it a little while now, and no matter how many times I've washed it, there's still little bits in there, and I just can't get it out. It's a sponge, so I've ditched the sponge and I've gone for the microfiber applicator. And like I say, make sure it's damp as it's instructed to on the instructions. And you can literally apply it on everything. Apply it on the trim, on the paint, and it will give you that lovely protection. Just be a little bit careful on some plastic trim though. On matte trim especially, I have had a few issues trying to remove it on matte trim, but on gloss trim it's totally fine. But yeah, just be a bit careful with matte trim because it can be a bit of a pain. Now, as part of the exterior, I like to do windows, and I hit it with the Angelwax Vision glass cleaner, and I have a waffle weave glass towel, which is my first initial clean wipe down towel, before I then hit it with a glass towel secondly. It's my like backup second phase of the window clean. Window cleaning, I find, is very much an art form, and it can be very difficult. It's definitely the bane of my life, getting clean glass. However, I would say majority of it is making sure your towels are clean. If you've got a contaminated, dirty towel that you don't wash very often, you're going to have the hardest time trying to get your glass clean. So make sure your towels are clean, you've got decent glass product, or even rinseless wash, and then just manage your the thing is with glass cleaners as well, they usually evaporate pretty fast, so you don't have to worry too much about moisture control. But if you're using rinseless wash or something like that, then just be mindful that you don't want heavy amounts of liquid on the surface, because you've got to somehow remove all that. But yeah, I think it's starting to look quite well. You can really start to see the reflection of the old Pebble Dash render there. And here we go, you can kind of see the progress being made with the glass. You can see how bad this one is, and the back windows in a minute has really got some lovely fauna going on. I definitely don't quite know what's going on with my facial expressions here, but maybe I've just got a little whiff of the old Vision, and it's burning out my nostrils slightly, so it's fine to a certain extent, blast out some of that nose hair, but yeah, it's pretty violent stuff, so just be a bit careful when you're spraying it heavily, because yeah, that stuff, if you ever used it, it's strong. So windows are done, and now it's time for some finishing touches. Apply a tyre dressing. I've never actually detailed tyres they're so big. There's huge tyres on this thing, and you really had to be very liberal with the tyre dressing on this one, not to get a shiny tyre, but just to get it on the surface. And some of the tyres are starting to age a little bit and they're quite cracked, and it, you know, they're really absorbing this tyre dressing and soaking it in, which is good because it's going to sort of, you know, give it a bit of extra protection and glow, and it would just make it, you know, the last little bit of lipstick, so to speak, you know, tart it up a bit. These wheels were a real challenge to bring up, and it was a lot of elbow grease, and there's still a couple of areas on these wheels where I started to lose the will a little bit, and I think perhaps on the second try on a maintenance wash, see if we could bring these wheels back a bit further, and it's only going to improve over time the more we wash this thing. If I get a chance to, I'm going to really want to have another go at this one and do the interior as well.
Okay, final thoughts. Just finished the outside, and cheers, time for a beer. I'll say that was tiring. Let me know in the after shots, was it an improvement or was it not? I feel like a bit of a fruitless effort, to be honest, but we did it. And next, we'll see if we can do the inside. Thanks for watching.